This is Bob the Beast Sapp, and you're listening to Ramsey on Word on the Street. I'm on the street, baby. Word.
Thank you, Mr. Bob Sapp. It is the motherfucking Word on the Street. Coming to you fucking live. It is 7/7 the year 2000. And Chael, coincidentally, a year ago, to this very day, Chael Sonnen fought Anderson the Spider Silva at UFC 148. That was a year ago today, people. Can you fucking believe it? The time flies. Here we are a year later. And what the fuck? A year later, Anderson Silva is no longer champion. Has been dethroned. Chael Sonnen is a married man. And guess what? He actually squeezed in another title shot in between 7/7 2012 and 7/7 2013, motherfuckers. Anyway, this is Ramses coming to you live from Austin, Texas, on the Word on the Street podcast. We also have my co-host, the producer of this show. Really, when you break it down, one of the greatest motherfuckers on the internet, Jake from the MMA podcast. Jake, how you doing, son?
I appreciate it, man. I'm trying to come back. Literally a minute ago, I was telling you I drank an ungodly amount of whiskey, trying to make myself believe what happened. It didn't work. I still can't believe it, and all I got is this stupid fucking hangover to show for it. I was in bed until let's just say I was in bed until late afternoon today. I was hurting bad, but I wasn't hurting as bad as all those Silva fans out there. Jesus Christ. Why we'll be talking about that. I still can't believe it. Follow us on Twitter, themmapodcast.com, if you know what's good for you.
Yep. And by the way, guys, hold on, I'm just adding a couple other regulars to the call right now.
And when I said follow us at themmapodcast.com, I meant the MMA podcast. Because, I don't know, I might be a little high right now. Who knows?
Right. At the MMA podcast is how you follow Jake, my co-host. Anyway, people, thanks for joining us. We are only going to be talking about, well, it might slip away into other... We're going to be talking about the Anderson Silva conspiracy, all right? It's going around. He, in case you fucking missed it, he got knocked out by Chris Weidman, lost the title, looked like an absolute fool, clowning around, dancing around, showboating, if that was even showboating, because everyone was screaming at him, what the fuck are you doing? Yes, the crowd was enthralled there. You were hearing cheers when he would pull his antics. But, holy shit is what everybody ended up saying, and wow is what everybody ended up saying at the end of the night. Knocked out by Chris Weidman in the second round. I believe 118 minute mark to go, something like that.
Something like that shit.
Everyone is shocked, man. It was, like I was telling our buddy Ross earlier, this was the 9/11 of MMA, all right? People are reacting and shocked the same way. They can't believe it happened. Everyone's doubting how it went down. Was it a fix? What the hell? I can only imagine how people are doing over there in fucking Brazil. We also got King Ying on the line with us.
Yeah. What's up, man? If you thought people were rioting before, they're rioting now. Sorry.
And then we also have Ross, the best Jew in the MMA business, former trivia champion here on the Word on the Street. Going to defend it tonight, hopefully. Ross, how you doing, man?
I'm not the champion, so I'm not going to defend it.
No,
I will win it back.
Oh, that's right.
But yeah, I will win it back. Weidman's the champion. I told everyone. I'm so happy. I'm still very happy. It's still very surreal, and yeah.
Ross was the biggest Chris Weidman supporter that I came across on the fucking internet, on the show. Hands down, he believed in his heart that this was going to happen. It did come to fruition, but the question is how and why. We are going to get to the bottom of this shit. Also, we have a caller. Not sure who it is. The 561 area code. How you doing? Welcome to the Word on the Street. What's up?
Yo, what's up? It's John.
John. All right, John. That's a very creative name to go with. But you're John from where?
Oh, from Florida.
John from Florida. Welcome, John from Florida.
Represent Florida, yeah.
Hopefully you'll bear with us here on the podcast, unless you just wanted to call in to say something real quick, or you had some question or something like that. Otherwise, you're welcome to hang on the call for as long as possible. Also,
yeah, cool.
Great. Also, we have a regular on the show, Alan from Louisiana, I believe. How you doing, Alan?
Yeah, what's up, guys? How y'all doing tonight?
We're doing pretty good. Some of us are just hungover. Some of us are still in disbelief, denial. Some of us are ecstatic. But people, we're here to talk about Anderson Silva versus Chris Weidman. The conspiracy. All right, people are saying, because of the nature of the fight, how it went down, how it played out, that people are saying it was fucking fixed. All right, people. Apparently, the spider weaves a tangled web to deceive, if you know what I'm saying. There are allegations flying around that could not possibly have been a real performance from Anderson Silva, which I'm going to tell you right now I agree with. Question is, wait, also, was that King Yang that just...
Yeah. Dude, I think, like, real quick,
yeah.
You want me to go now?
No, definitely, yeah. Give us a little soundbite here. What's your immediate take?
So, dude, I think 100%. I think he's 38 now. I think all the pressure and all, like, everyone scrutinizing him all the time, I think he wanted to be done, man. I think he said, like, I don't think he went in there saying, okay, I'm going to get knocked the fuck out. But I think he went in there saying, I don't care. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think he wanted, I don't know, man. It sounds crazy, but I think he wanted to he just wants to be done. He doesn't want that pressure no more. Like, he doesn't give a fuck.
Mm-hmm. The pressure of being at the top of the mountain, constantly defending. I've got to admit, it did look a little bit like he,
Did you see that interview he did before the fight?
Yes, I did, actually. It was brought to...
They asked him what would be the best outcome for this fight. He said, them saying Chris Weidman is the new champion. And then the dude right away said, would you want a rematch? And he's like, no, I'm tired. Right away he said that. That's crazy.
Yeah, there was that interview that he did before the fight, Anderson Silva, where he was asked, what's your perfect fight? What's your idea of a perfect fight or something like that versus Chris Weidman? And Anderson Silva, he giggled. He did his, like, crazy, like, pretend I'm not an alien disguised as a human being with my eyes darting around, acting goofy, giggling to himself. He said he made it look like a joke. He was like, yeah, Chris Weidman, the new champion. He said that would be the perfect ending for the fucking fight. Yeah. And let me tell you, people, the fact that he was let's just assume he was joking about that. The problem is, Anderson Silva handled this entire fight as if it were a joke. From before the fight to during and after, man. He's still playing games, by the way. But yeah, before the fight, man, what was the press conference? He let Chris Weidman hold the goddamn belt.
Yeah, man. What the fuck was that?
You know, he made out with him at the weigh-ins, man.
Yeah, and he kissed him again during the fight.
Another thing at the weigh-ins, like, if you notice, the only reason that even happened is because Weidman stepped forward first. If he didn't do that, Silva would have stayed back, and that's the first time that I can think of in a weigh-in that Silva didn't right away get in the face. He was content on staying back until Weidman made that first step.
What about against Bonner?
Did he stay back with that?
I think he did.
Okay.
Well, anyway, my point is that Anderson Silva was treating the whole lead-up to the fight as a joke. Every interview he gave, it was just jokes and nonsense, man. And then, of course, he got into the fucking octagon with Chris Weidman. And if you want to call that... Does anyone here... I'll open it up. Does anyone here think that Anderson Silva actually did his best to fight that man?
Yes.
I mean,
performed at the top of his game to fight that man.
And I think if you are ignorant to say that he went in there not looking to perform at his best, then don't even watch the sport, because Anderson Silva's been champion for 7 years. The guy has had so much fame and fortune. The guy had two or at least one big 8-figure payday on the table, this big super fight with John Jones right there on the table for him, that he knew if he got past Chris Weidman, that was on the horizon. Whether it be that, maybe go through one more fight and then that, but that was right there. And the fact that he chose to give that up, and you could say, oh, but now they do the rematch with Weidman. That's not as big as a Jones-Silva fight. Weidman Silva 2 is gonna draw maybe close to 1 million pay-per-view buys, but it's not drawing over 1 million. Anderson didn't just throw the fight. Anderson's game plan every single time he goes out there is to make you fight his fight, and he thought he had Chris fighting his fight. He drew Chris in. The whole point of dropping your hands is the whole point of him doing that is to make his opponent try and come in, but they're very tentative too when they think about coming in, because they'll throw maybe 1 or 2 punches and they'll alternate hands, and Anderson could just roll with both punches and bam, hit him with a jab and he's done. But Chris Weidman knew what to do. He had trained for Anderson Silva to drop his hands. He knew what to do if Anderson dropped his hands. And when Anderson dropped his hands, he knew if he threw, he had to double up on punches. And he doubled up on punches. He hit him with that left hook. He went down. Simple. He took no dive. Anderson Silva fought like Anderson Silva.
Dude,
Chris
he
Weidman
doesn't.
fought
Okay,
like
but
Chris
hold
Weidman.
up. Ready? Silva doesn't do that. Like, he doesn't start clowning until he has your timing down. He did it right off the jump. And dude, Weidman did throw that right hand, then the right again, then the left. So it kind of fucked up Silva's timing and shit, because like you said, they usually do that in boxing and not in MMA. But fucking, dude, I'm telling you, Silva's already a millionaire. Who the fuck cares about John Jones and GSP? Like, if you're him, he doesn't. He's already a millionaire.
Let me jump in really quick. I'm sort of in the middle of both of you. Ross, you do make a good point in that this is how he works. You look at his fight against Son and Okami. I mean, look at his last 10 fights. Probably 8 or 9 of them have the similar motif of Anderson Silva goofing around, not to be a disrespectful fighter, but to lull you into his game. And Weidman was really the first guy not to get lulled in, but at the same time, Ramses and King Ying are saying, it's I think he performed not as good as he would have in the prime of his career, but do I think he's getting old? No, I think it's because he's just gotten cocky. Nobody has given him a challenge. He has murdered everybody except for Chael Sonnen in the first fight, and I think Anderson was in the position where Ross, yes, that is a part of his game, but I think he was sort of thinking he could get away with more than he really could bite off. I mean, the Bonner fight was probably the fight where he clowned the most after the Maya fight, and the Bonner fight was very similar to the Weidman fight in a lot of respects. King, we mentioned him not getting intense during the weigh-in. I think he may have had the same exact, attitude during the Bonner fight, just Bonner wasn't enough to beat a Forrest Griffin who wasn't even, beat an Anderson Silva who wasn't even serious. I think Bonner just couldn't do it. Weidman, on the other hand, is a championship caliber fighter and could handle it. But now the question in my head, which I'm sure we'll talk about, I mean, do I think it was a dive? No fucking way. You look at the ways his eyes went wonky as he fell, that was not a dive. But he may have lost because he didn't take the fight seriously, because he thought, and whether that was because he thought he was so good, whether that's because he wants to be out of the sport. But in my eyes, the real question is, will we see the rematch? And in the rematch, is Anderson going to come out as the same fighter or a different fighter?
Well, let me interrupt for a second, because, all right, here's the way I see it. If he was so sick of being in this sport and he couldn't take it anymore, he was toast tired, so he decided to fight stupid and get knocked out. First of all, who wants to get knocked out on purpose? No one does. Second of all, why wouldn't he then I guess the Chael Sonnen fight was a work that first time. He wanted to just...
Dude, he was hurt. I'm not even making excuses, but he was 100% hurt going into that fight. And even if you don't think he was hurt,
that's a question I want to put to you guys.
We know 100% fact. I'm not making excuses. That's a fact. But anyway, okay. So even if he wasn't hurt, you don't want to believe that. Chael Sonnen was juiced to the fucking gills in that fight, and he still won. So people bring that up, Silva still won. It's irrelevant.
The testing methods were very medieval.
No, T to E ratio means nothing. T to E ratio is the biggest bullshit in the world. It's a ratio. It shows no measurement whatsoever. It's the biggest hunk of crap ever.
That's right. No substance was found. We'll move on, though.
And he wasn't hiding it. That's the point. He wasn't hiding the fact that he was on TRT. The commission wasn't upfront with him in the first place of what needed to be presented. So, and
exactly.
if you look at, and if you want to, use Chael as the standard, you put that second fight, compare it to the first fight, the same shit would have happened. Chael would have took him down if Anderson wouldn't have went through all of his different antics of holding the shorts, pulling. Hey, bro, that's what turned the tide.
We're getting a little off topic,
Chael,
guys.
Yeah, but Chael would have got the second.
Let's not discuss Chael.
Yeah, King. Let's not fight her back.
Let me steer it back, people. Hold on. Let me get a little bit control of my show here. The Word on the Street podcast, people. By the way, let's the people arguing that it might have been a conspiracy, that it might have been a fixed fight. They're pointing out a lot of coincidences, which seem to come up with, with every good conspiracy. You have to have some fucking unexplainable coincidences playing a part. Now, people, let's try to put aside emotion and look at this objectively. Objectively, people. No emotion. Let's pretend it was just a fight on the Facebook prelims between Chris Smith and Andy Silver. All right? Chris Smith and Andy Silver on the Facebook prelims. All right? Now, months before the fight, all right, Chris Weidman, he actually met with Dana and Lorenzo, and he was supposedly meeting with them to ask for the title fight and talk about it. Not sure if anybody remembers that. Yes. He comes out of the fight, gives an interview with Ariel Hawaii, where he just spills the beans completely. He's like, I told him straight up, I want to fight Anderson Silva, and I'll grant him an immediate rematch if he beats me. Now, if anybody disagrees, speak up now. Anderson Silva was fighting as if he were a man that knew he was guaranteed a rematch. Can we at least agree on that?
Sure. Yeah, what's the point of him losing?
I still say no to that.
Well, it's not a point of him losing. It's just him knowing he can fight with reckless abandon if he wants.
John from Florida.
That's not the point. That's not what he was doing.
What was he doing, Ross?
He was fighting like Anderson Silva. If Anderson Silva is going to come out and be orthodox, then and keeps his hands up, then he's got to be worried about takedown, which is exactly what Chael Sonnen did to him and every other grappler. So when he puts his hands down, he's susceptible to getting hit with the shots. So Chael hit him with shots and Chris Weidman hit him with shots. It's how Anderson Silva fights. He wasn't fighting like a man who knew he had a rematch. He was fighting like Anderson Silva, and he just got beat by a better fighter. I don't get why there's such a debate over he got beat. He got beat on a night.
See,
everybody loses.
The problem is nobody saw Anderson Silva fight. What's up, Alan?
One thing I do want to point out is, did anybody else notice that after the first round, how agitated and amped up Anderson was when he went to his corner, and how they had to, like, you could look at his arm, and I think what it was Anderson, like, he was so agitated, and, like, you could tell, like, his adrenaline, like, he was shaking, his arm was, and they were trying to calm him down, and I think he just let that get the better of him. He was being Anderson, but I just think he took it overboard. Like, he went overboard with what Anderson does, and he got beat. I don't think it was a work. I just think that Anderson fucked up. I don't think that he'll do that in the second fight. But
could it be?
I just need to point that out.
Could it be that Anderson Silva realized that first round, he got his ass whooped, he knew he was finished, and he threw the fight. He threw the rest of the fight. Could that be the true story?
That makes no sense. That makes absolutely... I'm sorry.
What, he quit? People quit in the middle of fights all the time. What are you talking about?
So why would he quit by taking a left hook to the face that puts him out cold? No one wants to quit like that.
He might not have done that, but hold on. Maybe what Ramsey's trying to say, maybe, is like when he was getting fucked up, everything started in the back of his mind. He's thinking, like, if I went, like, just like all the pressure to John Jones, like all this shit, he's like, fuck it. And maybe he just went, like Alan was just saying, straight crazy. He's like, you know what? His adrenaline, he had a huge adrenaline dump. He just went nuts. He started clapping. He's like, fuck it. He went full retard and just went out there and did whatever.
He was fighting like he was on drugs or something, man.
All right, wait, time out. Look at the Damian Maia fight. Look at the Tyler Slate's fight. Both guys the Damian Maia fight more specifically, and the Chael Sonnen fight. When he drops his hands, he does that again's these grapplers. So
yeah, but he doesn't do that
until
he gets the timing down. Like he did this right off the jump.
Yeah,
he had 3 minutes in the. He had like 2 minutes in the first round where he was on the.
You want
feet,
to know the difference?
Chris, trying to get his timing down. Chris took him down at the beginning of the round, but then he went for the heel hook. He didn't get the heel hook, and they both stood up. So simple. They're back on their feet. Now Anderson's got his timing. He's trying to gauge his timing, and he was doing it. And he was still striking. Going into the second round, if you watch the second round, he was throwing a shit ton of leg kicks. He was trying to slow Chris down.
He threw like 3 that I remember, like good, like significant leg kicks.
He was striking. He wasn't doing nothing.
Ross,
well, now I'm not going to argue either way, but I think that with the difference in the Damian Maia fight and this fight is that if you look at the punches that Chris landed in that first round, they were significant. Like some of those punches like landed on Anderson's chin and you could hear the impact. So, I don't think that he was messing around the same he was in the Maia fight. I think Anderson was agitated that he realized how much punching power Chris had. And, I'm not saying he threw the fight, but, it definitely, he didn't act the same way he did in the Damian Maia fight.
Let me break this down, people. This is the reason why everyone's talking and buzzing and thinking, suspecting, wanting to almost believe that it was a fixed fight. And Ross, maybe, well, the thing is, here's the thing. Ross, I detect a little bit of actual, anger, a little bit of emotion in your voice, even though your guy won. You should be the happiest motherfucker on this show. But but I think it's because part of you knows the reason why we're saying this. It's because we don't believe that Chris Weidman beat Anderson Silva. Everyone's talking as if Anderson Silva beat himself. And yes, that should piss you off because Chris Weidman, you believe in him, he is a great fighter. But it has to be addressed at least. It has to be addressed. Anderson Silva, everyone was saying immediately he lost the fight because he was goofing around. It's not because Chris Weidman proved that he had superior skills.
But
do you get what I'm saying?
Around because Chris Weidman was better. Chris Weidman was dominating him. He was pushing the pace. He took him down. He ground and pounded him on the floor, went for the heel hook. I mean, he was controlling the fight. Anderson was losing.
Right, he was a better version of Chael Sonnen in the first round, yes. But
agreed.
It was not. But we weren't seeing a skill set that matched that was superior to Anderson Silva's. We didn't see that ever play out. Is the problem that people have? The problem is Anderson Silva. I believe I don't believe that I saw him fight at all. I don't believe that he was fighting that man. I think that he either gave up or never intended to win in the first place. But he never actually fought that man.
Really quickly, if I get...
Shame.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, you did mention Ross is coming through with a little emotion, and maybe that's because he knows there's an inkling of a chance, or because we're all saying there is. I would be, I mean, not, I mean, we definitely are bringing up certain points that, even though I don't agree with them, they are interesting to be talked about. But if I was Ross, I would just be kind of annoyed because it's like, my boy just marched out there and beat the greatest of all time, and now you're gonna disrespect him by saying that Silva quit and this wasn't Weidman and this is a dive and Silva wanted to lose.
That's what I was saying. That's why I believe they use him.
Okay.
Can I actually make a little point here? You keep saying that Silva didn't fight at all. All right, first of all, you could say he didn't fight in that second round, but that second round lasted 1 minute and 18 seconds. So let's get real for a second. 1 minute and 18 seconds. That is a very short amount of time to get knocked out in. Literally, Fight Metric. According to Fight Metric, Weidman threw 16 strikes. He landed 5 strikes. Silva threw 6 strikes and landed 5 strikes. That is not. It's not like there was so much time to throw so many strikes. They could throw 300 strikes in 2 minutes. That's not going to happen. They're not going to throw a ton in 2 minutes, especially in a fight between two high caliber fighters who want to kind of feel each other out and not just be overzealous.
I think in the entirety of the first round, though, Silva landed, 15 strikes?
Silva landed 9 out of 18 strikes. Weidman landed 11 of 27.
All right, people. Okay, Ross. I really hoped we would get into a little subtopic before I broach this, but if we're gonna piss you off, we might as well piss you off. So let's do this. You actually brought up the actual fight stats, which was going to be one of my points here. Okay, let's just assume that Silva versus Weidman was a complete 100% shoot. Anderson Silva did his best. It was a straight up, fight. I would still argue that Chris Weidman looked mediocre at best. Terrible in the fight.
How?
Okay. Well, you mentioned 16 strikes. Well, I have the stat. It was 16 of 43 significant strikes landed. He was shooting 37% on the strikes. How many takedowns did he go for? 3 or 4? He only landed 1. When he got Anderson Silva down in the first round, he couldn't finish him, could not submit him, and could not keep him down.
He couldn't even really pass his guard.
Ross,
he passed his guard. Anderson put him back in the guard, and then he got the heel hook. The whole reason they stood up was because Weidman committed to the heel hook and went to his back. Now, it is very difficult to pull a heel hook off in a fight. If anybody can pull a heel hook off, it's a very, very difficult thing. It's not like, I mean, Anderson's been heel hooked before, but you know what happened. It was out of nowhere. So it's not like he was going to pull off a heel hook right then and there. They went back to the feet. Okay. He got 1 takedown out of 3 takedowns in the entire fight. He tried for 2 takedowns. He got 1 takedown. All right, big whoop.
3.
It's a 5-round fight. Chael looked for takedowns. Chael missed takedowns in their fight. Chael couldn't get him down at all in the second fight. In the second round. He got him down in the first, but he couldn't get him down any more than that first takedown.
Grabbing the shorts.
Yeah. What I'm saying is Chris Weidman, if it were any other fight, he would not have looked spectacular.
But
do you agree or disagree?
No, I completely disagree. Weidman's got a weird style. People don't get his style, but that's the thing. He's got a very weird style, and it works. But he's that good. He really is. He's that good.
Well, I agree with you. The thing with Chris Weidman on his shoots for his wrestling and his takedowns, it's not so much as the speed, like Chael Sonnen's takedowns, how Chael shoots in there real quick and gets the takedown. The way it works with Weidman is he gets in on the legs, and then they might initially stuff it, but he's able to get control and use his strength, like how he was with Anderson, and he was able to just throw him down on the ground and just flip him.
Exactly. Chris's biggest strength is scrambling. Chris is an unbelievable scrambler, and that's why he's so good at jiu-jitsu.
His transitions, too, those are amazing.
Exactly.
Now would be a good time for any new listeners to be informed of the fact that Ross is a friend of the Weidman family. I'm not making that up, am I, Ross? That's not a conspiracy,
you're not
right?
making that up.
Okay.
At the same time,
all right, it's a program.
Of Chael Sonnen.
And he may or may not be an Academy Award nominated actor.
Let's not. We don't talk about that.
Yeah,
here.
we shouldn't do that one here. He's
all right, sorry.
Blow your cover.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Let's hear from somebody
Ross.
new on the call that we haven't talked to yet. Actually, Yao the Truth from Queens, New York. He watched the fight last night. He was going for Anderson Silva, I believe. Yeah, what are you thinking about this talk that Anderson Silva just quit midway through or didn't even want to have any intention of winning from the outset? What do you think about the conspiracy?
Well, to be honest, after watching the fight 2 times again today, I honestly think that Anderson Silva beat himself. And I see why that has a lot of Weidman fans angry, because it's kind of true. He beat himself. It's not like Chris Weidman really went in there and dominated him. Like you said on the stat sheets, he tried 3 or 4 takedowns, only got 1. His strikes, he threw, like 30% or something. He was landing like 30% or something like that. He didn't look that impressive. He looked mediocre at best. Like you said, Anderson, he won. I believe he won that first round, even though Chris got the takedown and then the ground and pound and then the ankle lock or whatever. The heel hook. I still believe Anderson won that first round because of the strikes that he was landing. And even going into the second, he was winning. But I really think he beat himself.
Anderson landed a strike?
The judges had it for Chris in the first round.
No, I really think Anderson won that first round. I mean, he got a takedown, and that was the beginning part of the round. but I still give that first round to Anderson Silva, especially, you got to think about the judges also. I mean, if you look at how he was clowning him, the judges probably gave him that round.
And you could say the takedown.
2 out of the 3 gave it to Chris, of the judges in the first round.
Yeah, but Weidman didn't do nothing with the takedown, so it isn't like he controlled him for 2 minutes. Like, most of the time he was standing up. Yeah, man, but he didn't really do
Weidman did more with the takedown than Silva did taunting his opponent. I mean, with that logic, you could say a guy could win a fight without throwing a punch. He could just run around and taunt a guy Guida style.
I don't think there's any debate Weidman won that round.
Go back and watch the round and watch the little sequence where he's on the ground and Weidman's landing his ground and pound. Listen to that with your TV turned up and tell me that he didn't do anything while he was on the ground. Just because Anderson's face doesn't get messed up doesn't mean that he's not taking damage. Anderson's face never gets messed up.
Yeah, it's like
he
BJ
still takes
Penn.
damage and still gets hurt.
One thing I gotta say too, educated fans should really start watching fights without any commentary. Just watch it with the TV muted, because a lot of the commentary is really, really influencing. So that's one thing I did do. I watched the fight muted and I watched it with the commentary. But if you're an educated fan and you know the sport, you should really watch it like any fight that you think, any fight at all, just watch it muted and you'll have your own opinion on, how to score rounds and everything.
The damn fight was a joke, people. Come on. Let's just pretend it was a damn prelim fight on FX or something. Everybody would be laughing their ass off at Anderson Silva. I'm talking Anderson Silva. Everyone would be laughing their ass off, saying, how did this guy even get licensed to fight MMA as an amateur, much less be the champion of the UFC? What the fuck was that, people? All right, I'm looking at it. You guys are in it too deep to look at it, to go out in the space shuttle, look at it from the goddamn Hubble, dude. The inner mirror, from the mirror space. No, they burned that fucker down, didn't they? They crashed the International
at the bottom
Space
of the Pacific Ocean.
You guys got to look at the fight from the space station. I'm sure they watched it, dude. They get pay-per-view. They probably get it a second quicker than we do. What the fuck was that? Oh yeah, you have to look at it that way, people. Looking down on it. This fight was straight up ridiculous. The man did not try to fight the other man. He just stood there dancing around like a clown, making a complete jackass out of himself. And people are trying to break it down like, man, that's the genius of Anderson. That's why he was the champion. No, he didn't fucking get the belt telling fucking jokes in the octagon, dancing around, river dancing over his opponents like a fucking fancy boy. This was a fuck joke.
Sort of to your point, Ramses, the one thing missing from his game was the counterpunching. He does that every time, and we usually see him counter and then counterpunch. I don't know what was going on, and I don't want to take anything away from Weidman, because that left, right, left combo he threw to end the fight was fucking brilliant. And he deserves the knockout, and he is in the top 10 pound for pound list now. I mean, the dude knocked off a giant. I mean, it was a great combo, but I mean, shit. Anderson Silva's defense was appalling, and most importantly, he lacked that counterpunching he's known for, and that's what lost him the fight.
I'm saying he's not going to be in the pound for pound greatest list. Chris Weidman will not be until he rematches Anderson Silva and defeats him straight up with none of this Anderson Silva dancing around, just fucking hands down, making an ass out of himself. All right, they have to fight straight up, have real exchanges. That's the problem with this fight, Ross. Man, nobody's going to accept it because of the way it went down.
Here's my problem. My problem is how you can go from saying that Chris Weidman is going to take a dive, he's already practicing his fall, and now you brush that off like it's nothing and immediately turn to, the fight was complete shit, Anderson didn't fight.
Oh,
you can't brush that off.
No, I was going to actually address that at the beginning of the show, but
credibility is off right now.
It's sort of like the opposite he did with GSP Condit. At first he said GSP was going to not show up, and then he said Condit dove.
Here's the problem, people. I didn't understand how desperate the UFC has become. All right? Look, I will admit to you right now, people, I was wrong. I thought Chris Weidman was going to take the dive. I thought they were going to pay his kids tuition.
One more time.
I'll repeat it. Don't worry.
Wait, no.
Let me tell you.
Yeah, I'm getting the sound drop ready to play after you.
Don't worry. I know how it's done. I've been in the business for a year. All right, people. I'm telling you, I was calling Chris Weidman would be the one to take a dive. I thought they already had his wife and kid tied up, guns pointed at their heads. They're like, it's either we shoot your wife and kid or we pay their tuition and pay for the house we rebuilt after we destroyed your house using weather modification devices during Hurricane Sandy. Anyway, I was wrong. I was completely wrong. But I wasn't. I was wrong about who was going to take the dive. I wasn't wrong that there was going to be a dive. And look, people, like I said, it's because I did not expect or did not see the UFC being this fucking desperate, people. They must be on the fucking ropes if they're pulling this shit. Do you understand me, people? It must, oh my God, they're talking about getting rid of the fight bonuses. All of a sudden it's 60 grand cut down to 50. They're cutting people left and right this year. They're making poor Ariane pull fucking double duty on these fucking cards, man. They can't even afford Octagon girls, man, and they're cheap. You don't have to spend money. It's just cocaine. That's laying around the Zuffa offices all day. The state of affairs in Zuffa must be, nobody has access to the books or the real pay-per-view numbers, but they must be in the goddamn tank. Let's face it, even Sonnen versus Jones didn't do the million buys that they were expecting. They were banking on it, people. They spent money on that shit and it didn't happen. So now you see Anderson Silva fucking just throwing a fight here knowing he's got an immediate rematch. What's to lose for him? Nothing. Maybe he still has his legacy. He's a legend no matter what. He was a legend 4 fights ago in the UFC. You understand me, people? Now it's more money for this goddamn rematch. Dana White is already calling it. He's saying yesterday, he said, this is going to be the biggest fight in UFC history. That's a direct fucking quote, people. Either way, it rains now. Everyone's shook up. When was the last time you got this up? Yes, John from Florida. We will get to you in a minute. Just when I wrap up this by just saying, people, funny how it all works out for a big money match. People get tired of Andy Silva. Word on the street. Now, John from Florida, continue. What were you saying?
Wait, so who are you saying fixed it? Anderson or the UFC?
This is a conspiracy theory here. Much like a scientific theory, it can never be proven. You can just give the evidence and perhaps demonstrate it in tests. But I'm not going to conclusively say that anybody actually threw the fight. I'm just here asking questions, man. I'm just asking questions.
John, did you ever see the movie Troy?
Yeah, Troy.
Do you know who Achilles is?
Yeah.
You know how he just
and that gay guy.
Yeah, you know how he just went out there and he didn't give a fuck. He wanted someone to beat him. He was tired of always winning. It was getting boring and frustrating. That is Silva. He just didn't give a fuck. He's sick of it.
Yeah, I tried that. Yeah.
That's how I feel. I don't think the UFC rigged it. I think Dana White's actually pissed the fuck off, honestly.
But Silva doesn't have blonde hair.
I tried that. I think yeah.
What did does anybody remember? We'll go around the table here. What were the first words out of your mouth when you watched Anderson Silva?
Holy shit!
Out. King Yings were holy shit. Jake?
What the fuck?
John from Florida, what did you say?
About what?
The moment it happened. Where were you when 9/11 and MMA happened? What were the first words out of your mouth when Anderson Silva got knocked the fuck out like it was the movie Friday?
Oh, I was like, holy shit, that was the craziest moment.
It was just like Craig knocking out Tiny. Alan, what did you say?
I said I wish I could be on fly on the wall inside that studio where Chael's watching the fight from.
Oh, really? That's exactly what you said yourself when you got knocked out?
Fuck yeah, because I Did you see the look on Chael's face whenever Weidman was up there with that belt and they were talking about Anderson getting beat?
Oh yeah, man. He was ecstatic, man. He was almost giddy, I would say.
Oh, he was giddy.
I've honestly been depressed since that happened, man. Like I said last night, man, like
it's like
to me, in my people could disagree and everything, but to me, in my eyes, Anderson Silva was to MMA what Mike Tyson was to boxing. Like I think MMA took a huge loss with him losing, man. Like, and that's just in my opinion. Like that's how I feel. Like he still is the greatest of all time in my opinion, but dude, it's depressing, man, to see that happen, especially because I know Ross, whatever. I know he could fucking he could beat Weidman and Bonner at the same time if he really wanted to, in my opinion. Like, that's how I feel. Like, maybe that's getting a little crazy.
You know what the crazy thing is that John Jones is probably going to destroy every record that Silver ever had.
Don't like him. All of this kind of shows you how much we had pumped up Anderson Silva to being... I mean, I still do think he's one of the best martial artists of all time, but we all sort of had him pumped up in our heads as this god, as this immortal man, when in reality, he's a guy on the doorstep of 40.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a guy who has hardly any defense off his back inside the octagon.
Yeah, we didn't get to you. What was the scenario? Where were you when 9/11 and MMA went down?
Listen.
What did you say to yourself? What happened? Where were you? Give us the scenario. Paint us a picture.
Well, I was eating applesauce on my couch with my cousins watching it.
So random. There's a lot of sugar in it that you don't need, right?
Yeah, it's from Queens, man. They're hard up there, man. Eating that apple. What?
Cinnamon or normal?
Yeah, so it was cinnamon, yeah. But
hell yeah.
I'm sitting there watching it, and then it happened, and I didn't speak for about I didn't speak until the post-fight show came on. Like, I was just, like, my cousins and everything, they were, like, screaming and stuff, like, but I was really, really shocked, and I just, like, I went into depression, like King Ing said. It was sad, man, to see that happen, especially when you know. Like, honestly, I can't wait for this rematch because if you look, well, we're probably going to get to it. So, yeah, that's what happened. I didn't say anything for about 30 to 40 minutes after it happened.
And here's the point that I'm putting out here. So now what gets you more emotionally riled up? What would you actually pay more money to see? The rematch or the super fight with Anderson and Jones and Anderson and GSP? Honestly, do you get what I'm saying here, people? They set you up. They put that work in place, man. They had it figured out. They probably knew Weidman would probably whoop Andy's ass. So of course they probably did that thing where they convinced Chris Weidman in that meeting with Lorenzo and Dana. They probably convinced Chris Weidman that it was his idea for the immediate rematch. You know what I'm saying? They probably reverse psychology that motherfucker out to the gills. And how about this, man? Let's put this out there. The economic aspect of the whole thing, as our buddy from Twitter, Stuyo for Real, is pointing out. He says, chiming in on the conspiracy theory, don't forget the economic aspect of the whole thing. He's saying the Brazilian market is established. So the UFC wants a young American champion now for pay-per-views on our side. Let's talk about that and the fact that to fight Anderson Silva championship fight, Chris Weidman only got $24,000. Of course, he won, so it doubled. But what do you guys think about that, man? $24,000 to beat and fight against Anderson Silva. Jake?
Yo, I was spacing out. I was spacing the fuck out. What is the question again? I'm sorry.
Chris Weidman only got $24,000 to fight in a championship bout in the UFC. Well, how much do you think he actually took home winning?
Yeah, like, we all know that those numbers aren't always truthful. I mean, when you saw, I think...
Those are IRS numbers.
Yeah, exactly. I think Sonnen in his last fight against Jones reportedly made not much money, but we all know he was going to the fucking
50.
bank. Yeah, it was reported to make 50.
All that was listed was 50.
Yeah, and
Ross, do you think this sets Chris Weidman up for life?
No, nothing sets anyone up for life. And sure, he's on a contract that was 24-24, but guess what? This is his 6th fight in the UFC. John Jones didn't even fight for the title until his 8th fight in the UFC. This is Chris Weidman's 6th fight, and he's now the champion. So he's still on his early contract.
It's his first pay-per-view, too. That's fucking insane.
Exactly. It's his first pay-per-view also. So it's not like he's had a long time to have a big
only a
contract.
second headline.
Now I got to press this. Now,
Guess
Ross,
what? Now I'm not done. He's got now the biggest bargaining chip you can possibly get. He just beat Anderson Silva, and now since he's the champion, he gets to renegotiate his contract. So that's a big thing to have.
Now, Ross, let's just break this down a little bit. And you actually just made my point. You're still a little on edge here, man. Why don't you?
I'm not gonna not be on edge.
I know, but I mean, tell us about it, man. Talk it out with us. Let's. We're all men here. Why, even though your guy won, why does this bother you so much?
What bothers me is how people can't give credit to someone who did something and won the fight. Chris won the fight. Plain and simple. Chris beat Anderson Silva. You can't talk about a work. You can't talk. He beat Anderson Silva. He did it fair and square.
A lot
he went
of people
out there,
are saying that he beat a punching bag.
Anderson fell, and it was over. And Chael Sonnen, who is a guy that you idolize, and all of you idolize, well, most of you idolize, he even says he beat Anderson Silva. He even believes he fairly beat Anderson Silva, not Anderson through the fight. So it's
Ross,
preposterous.
man, what I'm saying is that, man, there are 7 people on the show right now. If we got into a street fight with the Anderson Silva last night and he was pulling that shit, I guarantee you 5 out of 7 of us would have kicked his ass too. The dude turned himself into a punching bag, literally asking and beckoning to be punched in the face. I mean, that's what happened, man. That's what happened.
His game plan. That's what he's beaten all these grapplers with. He beats them because he wants them to come in, because they're grapplers.
What's this Chris Weidman's best performance, in your opinion?
I can't judge if it's his best performance. I say
you've seen all his fights. Come on, man.
No, of course I've seen all his fights.
So
but
just
I can't.
because it was Anderson, it was his best performance. Come on, man. Think
of it this way. Let's say
it was Pedro
won that first round. He won that first round. He won, and he knocked Anderson out in the second round. He knocked Anderson Silva out. He did the impossible.
Something that's never been done before.
Ross, did you ever see Talladega Nights?
Yes.
Do you remember what the French dude said at the end?
What?
Yes.
Okay, what did he say?
What?
You know that dude's not really French. You know who that is, right?
Yeah, I know, but in the movie he's French. It's Sasha, yeah. But he said, thank you for beating me. And that is what Anderson Silva...
So you're basing what?
Get the fuck out of here. No.
Somebody recap that, please.
Did you see what the guy said in Anchorman? You know,
someone smoked too much before this show.
All right, I think what King Ying was trying to say was similar to the movie. You guys ever see Waterworld?
I do have a drop of that. King wanted me to cue up there.
Cue that shit up. The Frenchman from Talladega Nights, who apparently was named Sasha, is what I got out of it.
Played by Sacha Baron Cohen. I forget what his character's name was. Here's a little clip because apparently Talladega Nights is real life. Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
And here we go.
You have set me free, and for that I thank you.
Get out of here, you fucking retard.
Alright. I get what you're saying, though, King Yang. Like, I was going to point out another movie called Waterworld, alright? Remember when Kevin Costner drops the match into the oil tank, and then the guy that sits at the bottom in a rowboat just checking the levels of the oil, he sees the match coming down, it's about to drop and blow him to hell, and the last words out of his mouth are, "Oh, thank God. Oh, thank you."
Yeah, dude. I'm trying to be funny, but what I'm saying is Silva, dude, I really do think he wanted that to happen. Deep down, like, I think that all the pressure, he just wanted to be done. Dude, that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of fucking pressure.
I mean, you always can you always can retire or not sign a 10-fight extension if you don't want to fight anymore.
Sign a 10-fight deal. Exactly.
Hey, man, this is my opinion.
I mean, yeah.
He still wants to go in there and whip people's ass every once in a while.
Just one at a time. Yao first.
All right. I just need to say this. Ramses is right. The UFC and Zuffa, whatever, they set us up. He's right. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to see the rematch now. Nobody cares about Dana White just announced GSP and Hendricks and then Gustafsson and Jones. They're busy. So, of course, everybody's going to want to see the rematch between the guy that just knocked out Anderson Silva. And he was barely even fighting him. He was not engaging at all. He was more on the defense at most. He was just, deflecting. Exactly. I believe it now. I really do. And then exactly what Jake said. He wasn't even counterpunching. He was just countering. He wasn't slipping to the side and then coming back with punches like he usually does. He was just countering on the defense. Just believe. All right,
you guys are the worst trolls in
Just
the
believe.
world.
And the other thing I have to say, again, what I said earlier, a lot of people are saying, not to take anything away from Chris Weidman, yes, he beat Anderson Silva fair and square. He threw a punch. It wasn't like he did anything illegal or, whatever. I'm still waiting to see the drug test, but he didn't do anything illegal. He went out there, punched him in the face, and knocked him out. And a lot of people are saying Anderson beat him.
Looks like the CIA is trying to take him out because he's starting to drop the truth on us.
We actually lost Yao and John from Florida, so we've lost almost half of our East Coasters, man. Hopefully nothing's going down over there. We do have a new caller, though. I'll add him on. Why the hell not? We have a caller, the word on the street. 270 area code. How you doing? Who's this?
I'm doing good. I hope y'all had a good 4th of July.
We definitely did. You don't have to give, of course, your real identity, but what should we call you? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Western Kentucky. I've called in before. On Twitter, I'm Bridgeview Coffee. Remember, I'm the guy that got ejected from 128.
Yes, you're the guy that called in, and you were ordering food, I believe.
Yeah, I was
while we were conducting a podcast.
We make fun of you a lot.
Well, are you stationary right now? Do we have
yes,
anything
sir. I'm at home. Yeah.
All right, Bridgeview Coffee, a fresh perspective here, and we are getting some static from somebody. Okay, there, it's gone now. Bridgeview Coffee on the Twitter. We're talking about the Anderson Silva conspiracy. Did he take a dive? Did he throw the fight? Did he quit midway through? Was it a real fight? What the fuck happened? What's your take, Bridgeview?
Well, I'll say if he took a dive, that was the greatest dive in history. If I was going to dive, if I agreed to take a dive, I'd agree to let somebody choke me out or something. I wouldn't agree to let somebody knock me the fuck out. But I honestly don't think it was a dive. I think, he plays that psychological game, trying to get him into his trying to get him to keep it standing. And this time he was against somebody that took him up on that and just caught him. He just got caught. Silva could have and should have won that fight. And I think there will be a rematch, too. I don't know if y'all have talked about that at all tonight, whether or not there would be a rematch. I know Silva acted like there wouldn't be, but I think there will be.
We're just about to talk about the rematch, but Bridgeview, I just want to ask your opinion. Did Anderson, in your mind, fight to his full potential last night? Was that the best Anderson there could have possibly been? Or did he beat...
Absolutely not.
And let me ask you straight up, man, Bridgeview.
Yeah.
Did Anderson beat Anderson, or did Chris Weidman beat Anderson?
Kind of a little bit of both there, to be honest. I think Weidman deserves all the credit for what he did, but I think Anderson kind of beat himself a little too. I think it was a jaded Anderson that was fighting, and he used to taunt people a little bit, but earlier in his career he didn't taunt them just constantly like that. So now that he's been so successful, maybe his ego got so big where he felt like he could get away with that and still win. But he wasn't fighting Stephan Bonner last night. He was fighting Weidman. And I think we can all agree that Weidman is a beast. The Munoz fight, he fucked him up. That was just brutal. And Munoz is a bad dude too. So I give Weidman all the credit, but yeah, I think Anderson kind of beat himself a little too at the same time.
All right. Well, real quick before we let you go, because there are some connection problems going on.
Sure.
Bridgeview, what your take on the rematch? Do you think it's going to happen, and who wins it?
I definitely think it will happen, and I really don't even want it to happen. I'd rather see Silva Jones or something, but I think there will be a rematch, and I think Silva will win.
Well, we'll see. You better take care of that kid, man.
Yeah, that kid sounds super pissed.
That is the last thing people talking MMA want to hear.
My wife just took her out of our bed. She's got to take her to her bed, and that's when she cries about every night about this time. We let her fall asleep in our room, and then we move her to her room. It's, I get used to it. I got 2 little girls, but I love them, so it's all good.
I will never know the misery of what you're going through, but good luck to you. She sounds like she's probably an Anderson Silva fan, so go take care of that, son, and we'll talk to you, man. I'll talk to you on Twitter. Thanks for calling.
All right, y'all be good.
Later.
Bye.
All right. A screaming, crying child on the Word on the Street podcast. That is a first time. First time for everything, people. And there were some connection problems. Hopefully we'll get those resolved now that we dropped the call there. He brought it up. It was the next topic anyway. Good segue. He should do radio. The rematch. So, given that abysmal performance by Anderson Silva, and the fact that people are questioning Chris Weidman's win, I mean, of course he knocked Anderson Silva out. Of course he won fair and square under the rules, but people are questioning whether he fought the real Anderson Silva. So, of course, there has to be a rematch, just like there had to be a rematch with Chael, just to find out if it was real, if Anderson was real, if Chael was real. Everybody wanted to know. Everybody's going to want to know this time. You guys think the goddamn rematch happens? Jake, what's your take?
I think Ross is getting a little static. Ross usually is coming through really clean, but Ross, you're static-y as a motherfucker.
Yeah, that's weird. It's almost like a CB static.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
We lost him. Ross, are you there right now? Crazy. All right. Well, Jake, I don't hear the static now. So
yeah, I was gonna say, the first fight, as fight day got closer and closer, I started thinking, man, I really want to pick Weidman. Why? I've talked with people, and the one thing you learn after being an MMA fan for a while, you don't necessarily look at who is the better overall guy. You look at the stylistic matchup. And everyone was saying, which they should have, Weidman was a nightmare style for Anderson. And I picked Anderson, and I would have picked against him that last minute. I thought about it, but I just couldn't let myself, because he's the greatest ever. I still think he's the greatest ever. And I just couldn't let myself pick against a guy who was in the middle of the greatest run we've ever seen, even though I wanted to. Next time around, I'm not going to make the same mistake. Next time around, I'm going to be picking Chris Weidman. I'm going to say that now. Look, I literally think Anderson Silva beats every man in the UFC except John Jones, Chris Weidman, and Chael Sonnen on a good night, because I think that style is really difficult for him, and I think if they fight 10 times, shut the fuck up. And if they fight 10 times, Chael wins, let's say 3 out of the 10. But really, I think the only guys who can beat Anderson Silva are Weidman and Jones, and in the rematch, I got Weidman all over again.
Alan, the rematch is probably gonna happen. Dana White's already billing it as the greatest fight in UFC history. That's a fucking quote. I mean, there's no reason for it not to happen. I mean, what does Anderson care? He has nothing to lose at this point. It's a big money fight. Alan, do you think the rematch happens? And if so, who do you got?
Hell yeah, I think Anderson's going to fight again against Weidman. I picked
Yeah, I was dropping out real.
All right,
yeah,
horrible connection problems.
This is getting bad.
Wireless. Whatever took out the East Coast. Oh God!
Cut his ass! Cut his ass! Rack him! Rack him!
Okay.
I'm sorry, Alan.
We finally lost Alan. He died out. He was probably on a wireless connection, and it was coming through horribly. Yao, the truth, are you there? Is your connection working? Is the East Coast still standing? Oh my God. We're having problems. Ross, I'll go to you. Hopefully you can hear me. Ross, are you there? If not, I'm going to assume there's been nuclear devastation on the East Coast.
Yeah, right. Holy
I
shit.
can hear you just fine.
Ross, tell us about the rematch. Do you think it's going to happen? And of course, we already know your answer, but at least try to give us a play-by-play of how it happens next time. Is Anderson going to come out there and clown around again? What do you think?
Of course, he's gonna fight a little bit more conservative, but he's gonna go out there and he's gonna do what Anderson Silva does, because that's fucking Anderson Silva. Holy shit!
You know what?
I've
heard this argument. I've heard this argument, but the clowning around, he does it when he's frustrated or he knows for a fact that he's dominated his opponent. At least that's what we've seen in the past. Okay, he didn't do the clowning around shit until what? Talis Latis and Damian Maya. And then you don't, it's not like he does that every time. It's not like that's his winning strategy. People are trying to claim it now, trying to make excuses for the man, in my opinion. But the clowning around is not his method. His clowning around has never won him a fight, in my opinion, and he doesn't use it every fight.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has.
It's won him every fight.
It hasn't won
that's
him
the
every
level you're
single
going
fight,
to
but
now
it
with your
sure as
bias.
hell's won him the fights in the past couple of years. Won him the Maya fight. It didn't win him the Chael fight, because the Chael fight, he got a last-second submission. It
Won him the
won
Bonner.
the second Chael fight. If you watch the second Chael fight, he puts his hands down, Chael comes in, goes for the takedown, he stuffs the takedown, then Chael gets flustered himself, and he finishes Chael from there. So that worked against him. Yushin Okami, boom, worked against him. Forrest Griffin worked against him.
Look, I would argue
uses it against these people.
I would argue that the first round of Chris Weidman versus Anderson Silva played out much like the first round of Chael Sonnen versus Anderson Silva did a year ago. Exactly 1 year ago to this day at UFC 148. Chael got him down, beat him up a little bit, kept him there, but you did not see the second round. Anderson Silva did not come out and start clowning Chael Sonnen. He did not. What do you think was the difference this time?
The difference was Chael. All right, in that first fight, first of all, but you're talking about the second fight, right? You're talking about the one that happened last year, Silva Sonnen 2, right?
Yes, UFC 148, 7/7, 2012, exactly 1 year ago to the day.
Okay, in that fight, Chael came out and immediately got that takedown. But Chael, the reason why Chris lost this, the reason they ended up back on the feet and Chael stayed on the ground is because Chael was not working for a submission at all. Chael was looking to just advance position and throw punches. He was not looking for a submission. Chris was looking for a submission at any time. He found a heel hook there. He tried for the heel hook. He couldn't get the heel hook, and they stood back up. That's why they got back to the feet.
That wasn't my question, Ross. My question was, why didn't Silva come out to round 2 versus Chael and clown his ass? What was the difference?
I'm not done. He did clown him at one point. He put his hands down, and I already said it. He did put his hands down in that second round. If you go back and you watch that second round, first thing Chael does is Chael goes for that takedown. So they're up against the cage. It's very difficult to clown someone when you're being held up against the cage. You can't clown anybody. You can't put your hands down and start dancing around. Then they break apart. And guess what he does? He drops his hands right then and there. He has his hands down. He throws a 1-2, and then he throws a kick, and Chael runs at him and tries to take him down. He backs him into the cage. Chael gets flustered, spins, falls. You know the rest. He did drop his hands.
Dropping your hands and dancing around like a monkey, flailing your arms, feigning that you've been knocked out, making fun of yourself getting knocked out is not the same. I'm just saying, man, this fight, something was just more... The clowning was more over the top, completely more ridiculous than it was in the Silva Sonnen fight. I was just, honestly, I'm not trying to back you in a corner. I'm just asking what you thought the difference was, but you're saying it was exactly the same. He fought both people the same. Is that what we're going to here?
He clowned Chris. He tried to clown Chris Weidman more than he tried to clown Chael Sonnen. And the reason why is because he wanted to throw Chris off even more. Because he thought Chris had absolutely look. I'm not saying he didn't think Chris had nothing on the feet. I completely think he didn't think Chris could knock him out, and Chris did, because he didn't know that Chris knew how to counteract that clowning. He saw holes in Chris's stand-up, but he did not see them properly because Chris capitalized.
Ross, quick unrelated question. Who is Chris Weidman's worst nightmare to fight? Who do you think can beat him? Do you think he is unbeatable?
No one is unbeatable. There's not a single
Who is
person.
his worst nightmare to fight right now?
His worst nightmare to fight.
You can take your time on that one. That's all right. Anybody? Who do you think is the man to beat Chris Weidman if they were to fight today? King Ying?
Well, I think Silva in the rematch. I think he'd beat him. But I dude, Ross is right, man. He's undefeated for a reason, and he has a shot. But dude, I think that Silva wins the rematch, and I think Vitor. Honestly, I think Vitor has a good shot.
Alan, you're back. Hopefully, can you hear us? Hopefully, your connection isn't absolute crap. You probably moved to Metro, but who do you think can beat Chris Weidman if they fought right now today? Well, we can't hear
answer.
Alan.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
You can hear
Alan.
me?
Yes. Do you need the question again? Who can beat Chris Weidman right now, today?
No, I got it. I think Vitor is a legitimate contender. Especially, on TRT, he's really come back and, resuscitated his career. He's doing really good at middleweight. I think that Vitor is strong enough that if Weidman took him down, Vitor could implement his jiu-jitsu. I think somebody who's got really good offensive jiu-jitsu off of their back would be a really good matchup. There's many guys out there like that. So, Vitor, or I'm interested in seeing the Anderson fight, the rematch. I don't think Anderson wins. I think that even if Anderson tries to do counter-striking, he's going to have to, and why is going to pop him again and clip him or take him down and win the fight. But yeah, Weidman's not unbeatable. There's somebody out there that's going to come along and knock him off.
And you are breaking up a little bit, Alan, but I think we got most of it. Vitor probably is your best guess here. Ross, I gave you a little time to think about it. Who is the nightmare matchup for Chris Weidman? Who has the best chance of beating him right now, today?
All right. Let me reword though what you said. I'm not saying that I believe he would beat Chris Weidman, nor do I think I'm not saying I think at all he would beat Chris Weidman.
Nightmare matchup.
But I think a tough matchup for Chris Weidman that would really test him is someone like Yushin Okami. Yushin Okami is equally as strong. He's equally as big, and he puts people down. He's been at the top for a very long time. His only losses are really to Anderson, Chael, and Rich Franklin. The Tim Boetsch fight, as much as you got to give credit to Tim Boetsch for making a third round comeback, it was a fluke. Everybody knows it was a fluke. He was dominated until that out of nowhere miracle Hail Mary comeback in the third round. Yushin Okami's elite. I think that's probably the toughest fight for Chris because styles make fights, and that's a bad style. But I still do believe he overcomes that matchup because at the same time, Okami's got a horrible chin and Chris has power. Lots of power.
Yeah, I can already see Okami knocked out at the hands of Weidman, to tell you the truth, man. You should be his manager. You're trying to set him up with some layup fight.
Costa Philippou change camps?
I don't know but they fought, right? He whooped his ass.
What was that?
Costa Philippou he was asking, did Costa Philippou change camps?
Costa moved to I forgot the name of the camp, but he did change camps. They're still good friends though. But it's not like
with more experience, I think Costa would be a good fight for him.
I don't think Costa's
for a damn title. We have to keep in mind now he has the belt, people. He's got prestige, man. He ain't good luck getting him to reply to your tweets now, bitches. It's all over. He's already got a hot intern running that shit for him.
Already spent the week with him, bro.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. You actually met Weidman, didn't you, Alan?
Dude, he was super fucking cool. He just hung out at the hotel.
Yeah. Well, that was before he had the belt, and now he has he's so money.
Calm down with that shit. He's a grounded human being. Just because he has the belt doesn't mean he's turning into a douchebag. If Chael got the belt, Chael wouldn't walk around being a douche. And you know that. You wouldn't be saying, oh, Chael's now going to turn into an asshole. He's got money now. He's not going to reply to all of our tweets or anything. You wouldn't do that, and I damn sure know you wouldn't say that. Just like if Chael beat Anderson, you wouldn't be calling that fight a worker, saying Anderson didn't fight him or any of that shit.
All right,
So,
can I throw out a question real quick?
Sure, you just did.
All right, so is this the biggest upset in MMA history or no?
No.
In my opinion, yes.
It's the most
Definitely.
monumental upset and the most monumental fight, but it's not the biggest upset. The biggest upset's still the GSP Sarah fight.
Oh, no way.
Anderson was still not a huge favorite going into this fight. If you look at the odds, they were still 2-1. That fight was 8-1.
Look, man, that fight happened in Houston. Look, the scale, though, you have to keep in mind the scale. UFC 69 does not compare to UFC 162.
Obviously,
this shit is going to be all over the place Monday morning, man. People are going to be talking about it in the office. Nobody was like, man, did you see Matt Serra beat GSP? You know what I'm saying? Like I'm saying, this was the 9/11 of MMA. It was exactly what the UFC needed in the year 2000 in Chael to boost what was. I mean, come on, we're coming off of 2 very lackluster cards, man. And honestly, the whole year, what was the highlight so far? Ronda Rousey's first fight, where she did what we all expected her to do. Here's the unexpected curveball. Here we go. Honestly, I'm happy it happened. Look, people, and this is one thing I wanted to say to Ross and anybody like Ross, anybody that's like getting a little bit upset that Chris Weidman ain't getting the credit. You have to well, let me just put it this way. I am not saying these things because I'm an Anderson Silva fan. Anybody that's followed the show or paid any attention or been friends with me or gotten to know me knows I am the last person that would be an Anderson Silva fan. I'm looking at this objectively. Just as a fight, I didn't care about Chris Weidman. I didn't care about Anderson Silva. Honestly. Actually, I dislike Anderson. If anything, I should be touting Chris Weidman as the reigning champ, the American. He did it. He took it back. He beat the bum. He just finished what Chael started. But I'm not saying that, man. I'm saying we saw a bullshit fight that looked like a complete joke where one man was not fighting the other. That is the big gripe here. And I'm not saying there was a fix. What I am saying at the end of the day, just to bring it all in here, my opinion, what I think happened was that Anderson, the Spider Silva, realized after that first round that he was not going to win the fight. He was finished. He'd met his match. It was not his night. And so he decided to just go all in. He pushed all his chips in. He became, like I was saying earlier to Josh Barnett and other people on the Twitters, he became the guy that was just going to decide to just gamble it all, put it all on the line, act crazy, and keep pushing and pushing until it was all gone, because he knew at the end of the day he was going to lose his stack of chips no matter what. That's what I honestly believe happened. I don't think Zuffa, the UFC, organized it, fixed the fight, told him to take a dive. I think Anderson just decided to take the dive on his own because it was a win-win and a lose-lose situation, all right? He loses the title, still has a legacy. He knows he has an immediate rematch no matter what. It's like when you play a game knowing when you play a video game, Super Mario, maybe that's too old school, maybe I'm dating myself, but you know you have the extra life. You got that extra man in the bank. You're just going to say, fuck it, try to run through that world, try to climb up those stairs and jump and reach that fucking flag, maybe even jump over it. We're all trying to jump over the flag. Maybe that's what Anderson Silva was trying to do, man, at the end of the day. That's all I have to say about that fucking shit.
To sort of add in 2 things. First off, I think our boy Joey Diaz put it best. You put a Roman candle in her ass for the 4th. The guy ate 69 hot dogs, and Anderson Silva finally lost. Get it together. Back to work tomorrow, cocksuckers. Look, like, fucking this fight. I do know what you're getting at, and it's funny because you don't really like Anderson Silva, yet it's the same argument that a lot of Anderson Silva apologists are using, that, you know, Silva, he didn't go out there, which is unfair to Chris Weidman, because people have been saying it for over a year now. Weidman's going to be the guy. And my first thought after just, what the fuck, Weidman, first I thought Dean may have stopped it early, but after watching a replay, he stopped it at the perfect time. I mean, he was wonky going down. He caught a few shots on the fucking ground. He was done. But my first thought after what the fuck was, wow, Weidman's the guy. You know, I've wondered literally since I became a fan of the sport, who's going to be the guy that Anderson Silva loses to. Everyone thought Forrest Griffin would be the guy because Griffin was bigger, and Silva had moved up to 205 once, but had never fought a former champion. He fought this bum in James Irvin. Now he's going to go up and beat a former champion, or try and fight a former champion. What the fuck? He embarrassed the shit out of Griffin. We thought in both Sonnen fights that Sonnen might be the guy. There's so many times we've wondered who's the guy. Yushin Okami was supposed to be a bad match because he's so strong in his judo. He got embarrassed. Chris Weidman's the guy. Chris Weidman, when everyone else went out there, not only got beat, I mean, you think of the guys that Anderson Silva beat, you almost can unanimously also say he embarrassed them. Whether it was Irvin, Lieben, Franklin both times, Henderson, whether it was Bonner, whoever he beat, he embarrassed. Both Sonnen fights, honestly. Chael must have felt really embarrassed after the first and the second fight. He not only won, he embarrassed his opponents, and Weidman went out there and knocked him out. So, it was just like, what the fuck? Oh my god, Chris Weidman is the guy. But Ramsey, sort of to go toward what you're saying, the second thought in my mind was, what if Anderson Silva hadn't been acting like a clown? Because yes, it is his game, but countering's his game too, and the counter-punching was completely absent. Where you watch the Forrest Griffin fight, and it's a perfect example. After each one of the little parries and ducks and dodges, you know what came after it? A hard punch that leveled Griffin. The Bonner fight, he found his spots and attacked. And Silva, I mean, dude landed 9 strikes in the first round, 5 strikes in the second round. In, 6.5 minutes, he landed 14 strikes. For each one of those 14 strikes, he probably did 10 stupid things, just dodging and ducking. Like I was actually wondering, like this is more like the Maya fight than any other fight, simply because he's not engaging. And I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah, so... It was like the Maya fight, except George McFly pulled the uppercut at the last second. And you can't take away any credit from Weidman, and I'm not trying to do it, but Silva in a way beat himself, and right. he got beat by 2 different people. I mean, Silva could have gotten away with this against almost anyone else, but not Weidman. Because Weidman, in my opinion, is the best fighter at 185 now, better than Anderson Silva, because he just beat him, till Silva can beat him in a rematch. I think Weidman's the best guy at 185, but in a way, Silva beat himself too. Ross?
Wait, hold on, not Ross, hold on.
I think Ross was just saying...
his biased opinion. Oh, I don't care what he's saying, this is my show. Final thoughts on the Anderson Silva conspiracy. What the fuck do you think actually happened with
I'm starting to think maybe I want to hear what Ross thinks about this. Do you think Weidman, because I'm watching it again.
These are your final thoughts. These are your final thoughts, cocksucker. Yeah, it's not Q&A time.
Calm down.
You can ask Ross a question after he speaks. Cocksucker. I want to know.
My final thoughts are, I think that Silva definitely, he wasn't going 100%. I don't know what his reasoning for, but I don't think he was going 100%. He might be a little bit crazy, man. To make it to that level, you got to be a little bit crazy. He might have went nuts. He might have just, the pressure, he might have just went nuts. That's my final thoughts. But my question...
Hold on. Hold your question after the final thoughts. The truth. Final thought. What the fuck happened in this fight, if you had to sum it up like it was a tweet?
Well... It wouldn't be, a tweet is kind of short, but...
No, keep it. No, final thought, you know what I mean.
Yeah. My final thoughts are, one, Anderson did not engage. He did not engage Chris Weidman as much as he would have with anyone else. He did not try to fight him. Two, I believe it was kind of set up for the rematch because nobody wants to see the super fight now. Everybody wants to see Anderson avenge that loss. And three, I don't want to give as much credit to Chris Weidman.
That was pretty straight up. Ross Finkelstein, the best Jew in the MMA business, the #1 Chris Weidman supporter. You can never say that he was a bandwagon fan. That's for damn sure. He believed it. He knew it. He was calling it every fucking episode. Ross, it happened. Chris Weidman is the new middleweight champion. Jesus Christ, in the UFC. It happened. But what are your final thoughts? Sum it up. What happened in this fucking fight to you?
You know, there's not much I can say, nor should I say, nor do I need to say, because all you need to do is go back and watch that fight. And you need to understand the magnitude of the moment. You need to understand the magnitude of what Chris Weidman did. You need to rewatch it. Turn your sound off. Rewatch it 5, 10, 15, 20 times. Pay attention. Realize. Take your mind out of the work conspiracies. Take your mind out of everything else and just focus on the two men. Men. Not gods, not massive egos, just two guys who stepped in the cage, put their fists in the air, well, one of them put their fists in the air, and fought. And just pay attention to what Chris Weidman did, because what he did was absolutely remarkable and incredible. And that's what we should be paying attention to. But I do want to comment really quickly on one thing that Jake said before, how he didn't do any of the counterpunching. There was nothing to counterpunch. What? Chris Weidman threw about 5 strikes.
I saw photographic evidence from Jake right before we went live, actually.
Yeah, Ross, I'll send you a picture that looked exactly like a picture from the Griffin fight where Silva's leaned
with
back
his head on the side,
and their mid punch. It's actually something my buddy Jay Jean screen grabbed off of his own shit and sent over, but I'll show you a little later.
A little later? All right. So
I can't.
All right.
I mean, it's going to take time
That's
to go.
That's not good radio
look
anyway,
it up.
people,
Yeah.
all right? People looking at pictures on the radio. King, you had a question for Ross.
Nah, I'm just thinking that watching it again, I think Weidman kind of baited Silva. I think he pretended he was tired. I think he started throwing like real, like slow, kind of like whatever. And I think Silva got a little bit overconfident with that. And then I think Weidman just took it to 100 and just fucking blasted him.
Weidman, I'll say this. Weidman had a game plan, but he didn't have a game plan to go out there and fully 100%. He didn't like plan every single move out like, all right, I'm going out there and I'm stepping to the side a little bit and then I'm shooting in a single leg and then I'm doing this and this and this and that's how it's going to go. No. When he says in these interviews he had every outcome in his head. He had every outcome in his head. He's been dreaming about this fight for a billion, jillion years. He's wanted this forever. He's known how he's going to do it. He has all these different ways. He was prepared to go out there and finish it in 2 seconds or go 25 minutes and get his face punched in. He planned for everything. He knew what to do if Anderson dropped his hands. He knew what to do if Anderson had his hands up. He knew what to do if Anderson stood against the cage. He did shit when Anderson stood against the cage. When Anderson stood against the cage, most people will just throw these straight punches and they'll throw alternating hands. And Anderson can easily slip and roll with those punches. Well, Chris didn't do that. Chris threw these hooks and he doubled up and he went body head and he did things like that. He studied Anderson to a T. You can't make excuses for Anderson. Anderson lost this fight, plain and simple.
No, I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying, do you think that Chris kind of played possum a little bit in the second round?
He didn't seem tired at all. He wasn't playing possum.
Yeah, I didn't see that from him. He kept swinging and swinging. It was ridiculous almost. One thing that I thought was actually, I just want to bring this up real quick, when he just put his head down and kind of bowled into Anderson's chest. Anybody remember that moment? That was fucked up, man. That was a little weird there. Yeah. You guys have to watch the fight again if you haven't seen it. Anyway, to sum it all up, everybody agrees that it was a conspiracy. Anderson threw the fight. That is the final verdict on the word on the street. Sorry. Wait, hold on. Breaking news from Front Row Brian. Let's see. He's saying that Anderson Silva, according to a report in Brazil, is claiming that he will take 2 to 3 months to spend with his family, aka relax, before deciding to accept the rematch with Chris Weidman.
So he's gonna do it if it's gone from no to maybe.
Time out. There's more. You didn't finish the story. And then he followed up the tweet by saying the translation is rough, but I think it also says Anderson has not ruled out retirement.
Not ruled out. Yeah. Well, in the post-fight interview with Joe Hogan, he said he was not retiring. He just didn't want to fight for the belt anymore.
But he hasn't.
I want to fight. I want to fight for the fight. I don't want to fight for the belt. I want to fight. I want to fight for the fight.
And it's convenient that Front Row Brian is breaking this news because it does segue in to the next and final topic, which was going to be, what if Anderson Silva declines the rematch? Obviously, he can't do that. Dana's not. Come on, people. Let's be realistic. They're not going to let that happen. But let's fucking assume. Let's say by some miracle he dodges the rematch. Let's just really quick, people. We'll just name one person or reason. A possible opponent for Anderson Silva. Now that he has been, after that performance, in my book, he is now relegated to bum status. He is a clown. He's actually he created a new status on the Word on the Street, clown status. He's relegated, reduced to clown status. Who should he fight next? And I'm saying, I'm talking, he should fight on the Facebook prelims now. That's how deep I'm going with this. Who should Anderson Silva fight next on the Facebook prelims? Just to throw out some of my ideas. I was brainstorming a little bit. I think maybe Dave Herman. Maybe he can fight Davey Herman. Maybe Tito Ortiz.
I don't see him fight Brian Caraway.
Caraway, yeah, why not, man? What did Marina call him? A bag of bitch, or
baby back bitch.
Baby back.
They should do a Mike Pierce fight. Mike Pierce, Anderson Silva on Facebook, because they seem to love they like to put Pierce on Facebook. So
don't even get me started on Pierce.
Let's do another Pierce fight on Facebook. King of Facebook wins that fight, and then he moves up to FX.
Yeah, I'd love, honestly, to see Silva knock out Bisping now that he doesn't have the title. It sort of gives the possibility for that.
Yeah, if Anderson Silva declines the rematch, which he won't do, trust me, people, he will not do. If he does, though, just in a fantasy world, that would probably be the next fight for him. But I'm saying, no, he deserves Facebook prelim clown status. Dave Herman, Tito Ortiz, maybe they can bring Eler Latifi out again. Maybe Bob Sapp will fucking have some free time. Not till Laranja, maybe Fedor's little brother. I don't know. Who do you think Anderson Silva should face next? Jake, I guess you already said Bisping. King Ying, who do you think, man?
Honestly, I think it should. I think it should be Weidman, and I think it will be Weidman. Just if it's not him, Bisping.
Yeah, I think he should go to 205, fight someone like we were talking yesterday, like Rashad Evans or maybe Shogun, something like that. But I think he will get a rematch. I think he'll definitely take that.
Ross, what do you think?
Oh yeah. I have no doubt in my mind, really, that he's going to do the rematch. But what I really do want to see is I want to see Anderson at 205. Just because he lost doesn't mean he can't fight John Jones still. That's still compelling to me. That's still very compelling to me. As a matter of fact, Chris Weidman versus John Jones will be compelling to me. Not right now, because Chris just won the belt. But when Chris gets a couple title defenses, because Chris isn't staying at 185 for very long. Chris wants to go to 205 because he's a big guy. But Anderson
you're
versus
bringing up
John,
a good point, Ross.
Anderson, John Jones could very much, and not only that, 2 to 3 months he wants to take times off. Well, 2 to 3 months, there's a title fight in September with a certain light heavyweight champion and a guy who seems to get injured once in a while, so who knows?
But he won't do it. Anderson Silva won't ask for that fight because he's not a real man. Listen to me. Anderson Silva, in theory, could say tomorrow, I'm going to move up to 205 and I want John Jones. And why would they deny him when they gave it to Chael Sonnen immediately? Do you get what I'm saying? Doesn't Anderson deserve that right after they gave it to Chael Sonnen when he had no belt under? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, definitely. He could definitely fight John Jones.
What I'm saying is Anderson Silva won't do that because he's not a real man. Not like the people's champion, Chael Sonnen, the warrior from West.
Let me put it this way. We got to stop the Chael nut hugging for a second. And think
we're just getting started. Man.
Hold on.
Why won't Anderson Silva call out John Jones immediately right now, just like Chael did? Why?
We need to think about this logically. If you're Anderson Silva, you're not looking to fight John Jones right now. You're looking to get a rematch with Chris Weidman because you want to beat Chris Weidman. You want to fight Chris Weidman again. You want to beat Chris Weidman, and then you want to go, all right, I beat Chris Weidman. Maybe if you're still not impressed because I lost one fight, I'll beat the shit out of Vitor, and then I'm going to fight John Jones. Believe me, he wants to fight John Jones. Why wouldn't he want an eight-figure payday? Of course he wants an eight-figure payday. He wants to fight John Jones. It's just there's a lot in the way now. But he can do it.
And when it comes down to it, it's not what Anderson wants. It's not what Weidman wants. It's what Zuffa wants. And Dana made it very clear that they want the rematch.
Yeah, they want the rematch first. And then guess what? I guarantee you if Anderson said, I want to fight at 205, Dana would see the money signs and he would go, yeah, I'm pretty interested in you versus John Jones.
All right, Ross, now I want to get you real quick. This will be the last one. I want to get you right now while you're still... you're a young man. You are emotional about this. We all are, but to some extent, I would argue that you have been. You're the most heated, man. It's your guy. It's your guy, Chris Weidman. None of us gave a fuck about Anderson. I'm gonna get you right now. Let's say, just to answer the question, all right. Let's say Chris Weidman and Anderson Silva they fucking rematch, and Anderson Silva knocks his ass out. What are you gonna say or think then?
I'm going to say, all right, that's fair. Maybe we'll see a third fight down the line.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It was your turn, sorry. Possible opponents for Anderson Silva if he denies the rematch.
That's kind of hard because he won't, like you said, he can't deny that rematch. But a possible opponent, I don't know, man. It's tough. I mean, he could go to 205 and fight somebody there, but I would like to see him denying. I don't know. It's really hard because I just don't see him denying the rematch.
Stay black.
Yeah, you have. You have a fight coming up a grappling match coming up, tournament. How many more days are left? I can't keep track anymore, son. I'm sorry.
I got 2 weeks.
2 weeks, man.
It's on the 20th.
Is there any chance that you're going to go in there and start, doing the robot and shit and just clowning around pretending you're knocked out?
What?
Are you going to clown your opponent?
No, I won't do any of that.
Why not?
Because I see what can happen if you do that. That was a lesson learned last night, and I don't have any reason to. I mean, nobody's paying me millions of dollars to do anything like that, so I don't need to do that.
That's Yell the Truth, people. Sponsored by the Word on the Street podcast and apparently the MMA podcast.
Hell
Jake,
yeah.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Last take. Well, actually, you know what, people? Fuck it. Let's bury it. Anderson Silva versus Chris Weidman. The rematch is going to happen. We are going to debate this endlessly. The whole fucking internet, the whole world will. They're going to be doubting the win because of how it happened. That is the truth. That is my prediction. Trust me. No one's ever going to agree that Chris Weidman dominated the real Anderson Silva until the rematch happens. It has to happen. It has to be just... he's got to nail that fucking thing in one more time before the coffin is sealed, before you can start throwing the dirt on old Andy. You know what I'm saying? That's my prediction. That is the truth. That is the word on the street. Now we will go on to the last segment, of course, the trivia. We have to do it every time. We do have a defending champion now, Jake from the MMA podcast. He stole that belt just like Chris Weidman stole it from Andy, but he stole it. Stole it from the Jew Ross Finkelstein himself. Ross
And let's not forget, Ross defended his belt 10 times and then lost it. Anderson Silva defended his belt 10 times and lost it.
The irony is delicious on the Word on the Street. It's a reversal of roles. Ross Finkelstein is the equivalent of the Anderson Silva of the Word on the Street podcast. Jake is the Chris Weidman in this case. Just stole that, snatched it up. Ross was goofing around. He was doing drugs, boozing, swilling whores, and wait, you can't swill. You know what I'm saying, people. He lost track. He lost the belt. He's here to reclaim it. Also, hopefully, we have King Yang and Yao trying to play along here. But man, these two nerds, this Jake and Ross, I'm telling you, they're on a different level with UFC trivia. The game is played like this. I will host the game and start naming facts about a fighter. Anyone playing the game has to chime in and buzz in with their name and take a guess on who the fighter is. Basically, the name of the game is Guess the Fighter. Is everybody... Actually, well, we gotta hear... We gotta do the pre-fight. I wish we had I should have told Jake to cue up the operatic intro to the UFC that they like to use before the pay-per-view starts, and they're showing those black and white interviews flashing in and out. What's the name of that fucking song? It's like
the Bob O'Reilly.
Bob O'Reilly, yeah.
No. You guys are thinking about. I'm talking about the chanting voices right before the pay-per-view. No.
No. He's talking about when they're doing
the interviews. It's the interviews.
Oh, it's that gladiator music.
The gladiator music, exactly. The UFC gladiator music, people.
Cue that
shit up, people. And let me tell you right now, man. Ross, people, he swept it 10 or 11 times in a row. People were saying the fucking shit was rigged. But guess what? Ross is back here to defend his title, or to take back what's rightfully his. It was stolen from you. Ross, what do you have to say about that?
Listen, I was champion for a very, very long time. I'm a man on a mission. I've never been hungrier in my life, and tonight, I'm coming for you, Jake.
Jake from the MMA podcast, you are the reigning champion. He's challenging you. He wants to take what you got. What do you got to say?
What I gotta say is very simple, you know. I came in there and I took the belt from Ross. It was my belt when he had it, and he's not getting it back.
We'll see about that, people. It will be revealed tonight. It is time. Don't sue me, Bruce Buffer, because I said it is time. Not it's time. Round one, people. First fighter. Are you ready to face the motherfucking pain, people? The first fighter, here we go. He has fought once this year, 2013. His professional boxing record is 1 loss, 0 wins. 27 total mixed martial arts fights. 19 wins. He's a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He has fought in the light heavyweight, middleweight, and welterweight divisions.
What were those three again? Sorry.
The light heavyweight, middleweight, and welterweight divisions. With a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He is 33 years old. He is a goddamn Canadian.
Jake,
what is your guess?
Just because you said Canadian, I know he boxed Patrick Cote.
It is Patrick Cote. Jake puts up a point. Round two, people. See, what's an interesting fucking tidbit about this guy? 74.5-inch reach. He is an American. He was born in Louisiana. Like our last fighter, he is also 33 years old. He fights with an orthodox stance. In MMA, he has 6 losses. Ross, what is your guess?
Pat Barry.
It is Pat Barry. Round 1, Patrick Cote. Round 2, Pat Barry. Jake and Ross are tied, of course. It's going to be a squeezer, I can already tell. We are moving on to round motherfucking 3. Our next fighter is an American mixed martial artist. He is 28 years old. Southpaw stance. Southpaw. He's been fighting since the year 2006. He has 3 losses. He has fought twice in the year 2013.
Ross.
Ross, what is your guess?
I did not say anything.
That was
Yao. Son of a bitch. Jesus, right. Okay, where was I? What was the last one? Oh, he fought twice in 2013, and he won both fights. He fights out of Sacramento, California.
Jake
from the MMA podcast.
Joby-Wan Kenobi. Joseph Benavidez.
Okay, this is for Jeopardy. I was about to Alex Trebek your ass. It is Joseph Benavidez. We will give you that point. 2 points for Jake, 1 for Ross. We are moving on to round motherfucking 4. This guy was born in the year 1984. 75-inch reach. His style fighting, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, Kickboxing, and Taekwondo.
You said he was born in 74 or 84?
1984. He is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's a black belt in Taekwondo.
Ow.
Yao.
Damn fan.
It is not Nam Fan. That is incorrect. Yao has been eliminated from the
And what were his disciplines again? Because I was like thinking, what did he say for age when you said that? Sorry.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, Kickboxing, and Taekwondo. His first UFC fight was a loss.
Ross,
what is it?
Is it Alan Belcher?
It is Alan the Talent Belcher. Whereas Renato Laranja renamed him Alan the Technique Belcher.
I was actually about to guess Carlos Condit.
Yeah. Carlos Conduit, dude.
His first UFC fight was that loss to Campman.
Rematch, 28th of August. Watch it.
Yeah,
Fox
I'm
Sports 1.
looking forward to it.
5 rounds.
We're tied up here on the Win the Street trivia game. Jake with 2 points, Ross with 2.
Next point gets it.
That's right. First to 3 points wins, by the way, people. Sorry about that. I didn't announce it at the beginning. Next fighter. Round 5, I think. This fighter was also born in 1984. His style is orthodox. He has fought MMA since the year 2005. His first UFC fight was also a loss. His fighting styles are karate and Muay Thai. His first fight was in the year 2013.
Ross.
All
right, I'm going out on a limb here because I do not know if he's fought since 2005, but if his first fight was in 2013, he's also born in 1984. Uriah Hall.
Ross has won it. He has reclaimed his championship belt. He has knocked out Jake from the MMA podcast like it was Anderson the Spider Silva clowning around. Ross, you have regained your belt, your title on the same weekend that your friend and hero Chris Weidman also took it home for America. What do you have to say?
You know, he's a great opponent. We've had some wars together. We've gone back and forth, but hate it or love it, underdogs on top. I'm back. I am the champion once again, and I am not dropping this belt for a very long time, and I will give you a rematch whenever you want. I'll give you a rematch in New York. I'll give you a rematch in Las Vegas. I'll give you a rematch on the moon. But no matter what the result,
congratulations to Ross the Jew Finkelstein.
Yeah, I think Ross is cutting out a little bit there. I was scrambling his signal. I didn't want him hearing this bullshit about me. No, I'm not playing. Ross, very well played. I don't know if the next word on the street's going to be Tuesday or Thursday, but whenever it is, I'm coming back for my belt.
And Ross, the chatter's already coming in that Jake wasn't really fighting you. He was just playing around with you the whole time. Your win wasn't legitimate.
Yeah, I was actually playing around in our last two fights together.
The title was stressing me out, man. The title was stressing me out. And hey, Ross, I'm going to spend 2 or 3 months with my family, take a little bit of time off, and think about a rematch, and I will be back.
We will see what happens, people. Ross, congratulations. Thank you for calling in, King Ying and Yao. And Jake from the MMA Podcast, as always. Follow everybody on Twitter. Jake, where can they follow you?
Very simple. Follow us, the MMA Podcast, on Twitter. We're more active on Twitter than we do keeping up the website, so just follow us on Twitter. If you feel like looking at a website that hasn't been updated in a while, themmapodcast.com. I'm moving to Denver this month, cocksuckers. Once I get settled in, that website's going to be a finely tuned twerking machine. But for now, follow us, the MMA Podcast. We will have an episode on Wednesday. We will have a roundtable show either on Tuesday or Thursday, and of course the Word on the Street show Tuesday and Thursday. It's a beautiful thing we got going here. Whether you've been listening for a while or just started tuning in, thanks for supporting us, and thank you, Ramses. You are, God damn it, I'm burping. You are the goddamn Word on the Street.
Damn right, King Ying. Where are you at, dude?
I think he's dead.
We'll come back to him. Ross, where can they find you?
You can find the champ once again. Feels good to say that again. You can find the champ at Ross Finkelstein on Twitter. E before the L. Spell it all Jewishly. I am once again the champion. Chris Weidman is your UFC middleweight champion. I can't wait for that rematch. I'm watching the replay. Boom! He just got knocked out. It is all over. That's the Word on the Street.
Yo, you gotta change it back so it says Word on the Street champion on your Twitter bio again.
Uh-oh, he took it back. He definitely did. Yeah, where can people find you? Yeah, the truth. All right.
Yeah, it looks like Yao. It looks like Yao is dead too. So I'll fucking plug him and King Ying. You can find King Ying on Twitter, Wu Tang 1990 or MMA Moguls. That MMA Moguls podcast can be found on YouTube. They're short, compact, and they talk about betting lines and whatnot. I think they also did a post-fight podcast. If you want to check out ours, we did just Google search the MMA podcast. We have a YouTube channel, and that was our most recent episode. Yao the Truth. He's an amateur fighter. We always have him on the Word on the Street and the MMA podcast. He has a training log. He does Word on the Street and the MMA podcast are official sponsors of Yao the fucking Truth. He is a future UFC champion. Get in while he's still relatively unknown. Twitter and Instagram, Yao YAO_ the Truth.
Boom, there it is, people. Thank you for tuning into the Word on the Street podcast. I'm getting the cotton mouth. I have been smoking marijuana this entire time, and when the mouth dries up, I know it's time to end. We will see you next time. Tune in Tuesday, I believe. We're going to have a guest. Still don't know who it is. I'll fucking surprise you with it. Follow the Ant Jimmy Show on Twitter for more. That's me. It's the Word on the Street podcast. We're out of here. See you later.